I can see Phoenix, I can see Alpha. There was another member from the Phoenix team also. I'm just waiting for that person to join back. The judges, please note that there is only one team member in Alpha team.
We never want a summer like this. Your luxury trip is making our life a misery, said a very famous poster that once appeared in Spain last summer. Respected members of the jury, my worthy opponents, and my dear friends. Today, I'm here in tourist destinations, a boon or a bane, and I wish to speak against this motion. Tourism, as we all know, is a bustling industry. It's growing more and more each year. But tourism is not always that kind of a savior for most of the economies, for most of the places around the world. We often see that tourists are going on, influx of tourists is increasing year by year. The United Nations data says that the total number of tourists has in fact quadrupled in the past few decades. And this in fact brings about a very key issue to most of the tourist destinations. All the cities in the world have a certain holding capacity. There is a limit up to which maximum people who can enter their city has. But tourism does not consider this factor at all. Most of the cities in Europe and Eastern Asia face this issue. It's in fact very worthwhile to note that Venice in Italy last year made up a public notice, say putting a limit that only a maximum of 10,000 people can come into their city each day, and people who exceed this limit have to pay a fine of about 1,000 euros. The cities are bustling in tourism industry, but the other infrastructure like road, residential facilities, hotel facilities don't grow in the same rate. We have to note, if a city has to grow in tourism, should also notice that they have the adequate infrastructure facilities required for taking maximum tourists. Another key issue possessed by tourism is that it gives a certain cultural issue and a bias of culture between the coming tourists and the residing residents. Many places which are very sacred for the residents have become mere things to see for the tourists. Many rituals and spiritual connotated events have become entertainment for tourists. This creates a cultural shock for most of the residents, and that has caused most of the residents around the world to oppose tourism. One more issue is the issue with sustainability. Most of the tourists who come to visit certain places never bother about what are the effects of pollution or effects to the ecology they cause. Last year, in fact, in 2017, Thailand had made a proclamation that they are banning tourists from nearly 4 islands in Thailand because of the issue of tourism destroying the very rare and exotic coral reefs in those islands. This, in fact, possesses a dichotomy.
You have introduced it. So just gather your thoughts a little bit. We will give Phoenix the chance to talk now for the introduction again. So you should be able to talk in both the ways. So we'll go ahead with it. And yeah, because it will not lead anywhere now. Because if all are going for against, then nobody will be able to speak. So a good speaker should be able to speak both the ways. So I would suggest that we'll give the chance to Phoenix to speak now. You made your point. So we'll just go ahead with Phoenix and let's see what they have to say. Yeah.
Hello guys, my name is Elroy and I'm from Team Phoenix, and today we are going to talk about the topic tourist destination, a blessing or a curse. So let us start with, like, tourism is a major economic activity that has grown like economically, like significantly over the years. But what about the issues which the local people are facing due to this tourism? So I want to talk about that. Like, some of the effects are, like, they destroy the nature, like fields, forests. Then the increasing in air pollution, water pollution. Then comes the increase in drug dealings, exchange, and also you can say exchange of contacts amongst drug dealers. Then we talk about, like, the sex trade, then the increase in garbage due to which is caused due to tourism. Then we also talk about all the like ill effects about tourism. As a late honorable president said, the country doesn't deserve anything less than success from us. So we should towards success. But how can we lead towards success when we are leading towards such a distress?
Yes.
Yeah. Traveling is a beautiful thing. It helps us to learn about the world, try new experiences, taste different kind of food. But unfortunately, if people don't travel sustainably, tourism can have many negative effects on any given area, no matter it is international or it is domestic. As our late Indian lawyer and father of the nation, Mahatma Gandhi said, travel is the language of peace. How are we supposed to live in peace due to this damage caused by tourists? For example, pressure on the resources of the area, loss of the cultural identity of the place and community, growth of aggression and crime rates, exploitation of animals to entertain tourists. Just because of tourists, we literally harm so many animals. Congested human and vehicle pollution, increased prices on goods and services. How are locals supposed to live with it? Completely independence on tourism. How, like, we had so many more things before, agriculture and so much more, but now we have completely been dependent on tourism industry. Increased population, destruction of historical monuments and nature, and our natural landmark. Thank you.
I share a few of my thoughts there.
Yes.
So, as a tourism is a boon or a bane, I would like to focus on a certain aspect of why tourism is a boon for most of the local countries. If you take the example of India itself, about 5% of India's GDP is contributed by tourists, and most of the income that India gets from abroad is through tourism, apart from exports. So if we focus on this particular aspect, we are forced to believe that there is something kind of a benefit tourism offers to India in terms of gaining foreign exchanges. So if tourism is not there, will India's total foreign exchange gain will drop almost by 50%. Or if you take another case, how most of the local communities get more employment opportunities through tourism. Most of the bustling tourist places like Thailand or case of Mexico, the places grow only because of tourism. About 70 to 80% of people in Thailand are involved in tourism and tourism related activities. If tourism is not there, then what
Okay,
else
okay,
will all
okay.
these people?
What? Okay,
I could
so as I was
hear you
asking,
properly. Yes, please.
so as I was asking, what about the rising footfalls in Agra, which has resulted in a large-scale deforestation, like due to building hotels and guest houses? What do you want to say about that?
Okay. So, uh, what you told is true. We can have negative impacts on the environment due to tourism, but that is not the end after all. We have modern tourism concepts like sustainable tourism or responsible tourism. We have to imbibe those modern concepts into our notion. Tourism is most of the modern tourists don't just want to come here and stay in five-star hotels or want to have some luxurious treat when they come to India. 99% of tourists in the present scenario are backpack tourists or budget tourists. They want to experience the basic level of India's people, how Indians live in daily life. That is what they want to experience. So for that, we don't need to modify ourselves into something new. We just have to present
Okay,
how we are.
okay, I wanted to to ask you, since they want to know about us, they want to know about Indian people, should the locals have to sacrifice because of them? Just like a case in Shimla, they had continuous no water for a week, or like because of the tourists, because of the too much, they have been using too much of resources that the locals cannot afford to help themselves and help them also. What about that?
Yes, so you are talking about the water scarcity, right? That is not, you cannot tell that is entirely because of the tourism. We need to have a solid agenda by the local government of how to modify the resources, what is the way to treat the tourists. Tourists are not always some people who have to mm, dominate over the locals. That's some prehistoric colonial connotations. We need to, the local government also has to intervene here. The tourism in fact makes, puts the real decision making power of local governments into action. If the government takes a stern decision, yes, the locals are to be given a preference. Like last year in Johannesburg in South Africa, they outrightly said no tourists first this for the next 4 months because we don't have water for the locals. Why can't our Shimla government also take such a stern effect? Then there won't be much issue. We need to have proper decision making.
You have 1 minute left.
Okay, let us now we are talking about water scarcity. Okay, what about the floods that happened during August 16,
Stern
2018?
voice.
Like the studies say that, okay, let me just complete. Studies say that it happened due to deforestation, which was done to make hotels, and due to incursions. So, what do you want to say about that? What about the floods which are happening due to the extensive deforestation? Like it's been a, people have to suffer because of that. Thousands of lives are lost because of that. What do you want to talk about that? So now it's about the floods. Then let me talk about pollution. The pollution, okay, you can say that the local peoples are also creating a lot of pollution around. But even the tourists which are entering into the country, even after even they are responsible for the water pollution due to the use of boats. Then air pollution, sound pollution. What about that?
I think the other participant has been booted out, not in the meeting, but both the teams have made sufficient deliberations where the judges can take it forward.